she kind of just like freezes. She's like, don't move. And I'm like, I'm kind of in the middle, in between your thighs right now, like my face. So she gets off the bed, grabs a towel, and she's like, honey? And he's like, hey.
Welcome to Normalizing Non-Monogamy, the podcast where we interview incredible people from across the entire spectrum of non-monogamy to hear their fascinating stories. We always strive to bring guests on the show who have a healthy and positive approach to non-monogamy.
However, everyone approaches this a little different, and at its core, our show is about hearing and learning from the different experiences and approaches people have. With that in mind, it's important to remember that the views and opinions expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect those of our own.
It's also important to remember that we aren't doctors or therapists and that we produce this show for entertainment purposes only. Please consult a medical professional for anything regarding your health that you might learn about on this show.
One final thing that we need to let you know about is that this podcast will hopefully include some explicit language. So, if that kind of thing offends you, we suggest you just keep listening until it no longer does. However, if you're under the age of 18, you should probably stop listening or gather up your parents and listen as a family. Enjoy! Tell them, Emma.
Every time. Welcome to episode 46.
Holy shit.
We're Finn and Emma. And
holy tamale. I shouldn't say shit that early.
Wow. Yeah, you're swearing already.
Anyway.
Today, we have an interview with Vel and Jason.
It's a fantastic interview.
I know. We're trying to come up with new adjectives.
Other than amazing.
Well, everyone's amazing, fantastic, wonderful.
Vel and Jason tell us a cool... Not cool. What am I? They tell us... It is a beautiful story. And the way they met, the things that they've gone through over the last year and a half, 2 years together, it gets pretty emotional. And
it's a little heavy at times.
But it's actually really awesome. So please stick around for the whole thing. You don't have to listen to us ramble at the end, but stick around for their whole interview.
Yeah, it's amazing.
In the meantime, we got some resources real quick. First one, Cassidy. We talk about them a lot. If you don't know what they are, go check out the links on our website and get yourself a free 6-month trial. See what's going on over there. Meet some hot people. We're on there. We're hot. There's other people. They're hot.
Mm-hmm. Use links on our website. The other one is STCheck.com. Also, it's an easy way to get tested for STIs. You go and fill out a form on their website. Go take it and get your urine and blood sample, get it tested, get your results within 24 hours. Super simple.
You get 24 hours-ish. Yeah. We'll give them some time. We don't want them to mess it up.
36 hours, maybe. Anyway, that's not the point. It's fast. That's the point.
Go to our new website, same website address, new design.
Yes. And use the link on our page for $10 off. The website is normalizingnonmonogamy.com.
And also, while you're there, check out the Contact Us page and this new voice recording that you can send us for free, because why would we charge you? And then send us some feedback. Tell us what you think.
Yeah.
Only nice comments, please, because I'm sensitive. But we will see everybody on the other side of the show. Ready? Go?
Let's go.
Thank you, Vel and Jason. And Bella, and I'd forgot the other name of the dog.
Chloe.
Sorry, Chloe, for joining us tonight. And being willing to share a little bit of your potentially non-monogamous life. We don't want to assume anything, but maybe you could fill us in on some of the details of...
Sounds like a really loaded label. You're potentially non-monogamous.
Well, yeah, so maybe give us some of the details of
who you are.
Yeah, who you guys are, and we can go from there.
Who are you?
My name is Vel. I am 42. I live in San Diego. I identify more with maybe solo poly, a little bit of relationship anarchy, if I'm assuming you're familiar with all these terms.
Yes.
And the listeners are too. In that we've been together for 6 years and we choose to live apart. I choose to live by myself. I don't like having roommates, even partners. I just prefer my own space. So that's me. Jason right now is my only partner. I date. I haven't really been dating much the past year. I had a partner for about 3 months last year who ended up committing suicide, and that just kind of
Wow. I'm sorry to hear that.
So, yeah, that was that's. But now this year, I've kind of I've just started dating a little bit again. So
yeah,
wow.
that takes some time to process. I can imagine. I'm sorry to hear that.
And the way that it went down, it was really, really sad.
Yeah,
as the things go. So I'm just trying to get my mojo back.
Oh, my turn. Hi. I'm Jason. I am 37. 37? Yes, 37. And I've been in San Diego, I think, since 2009. And yeah, as Vel said, we've been together for about 6 years. This is our relationship was both of our first open relationship. Prior to that, I had inklings like earlier on that maybe I was like not destined for the monogamous life. I was married for 8 years a while back. I married very young, and my experiences with that, as well as prior relationship experiences here and there, just kind of made me think, the way that this is structured doesn't feel right to me. So, I'm open to exploring something better, or maybe kind of like figuring out a better way, because I just knew that it wasn't working for me. And so, I think stars aligned, and we met, and we ended up kind of coming to the same realization right around the same time, that we wanted to explore being non-monogamous. And so right now, I guess I identify as polyamorous. I don't know, the labels are tricky to keep up with. They keep on subdividing and like coming down into more and more granular terms. So I kind of just say I'm generally poly.
And so when you guys met, did you start off as a monogamous unit and then discuss it from there and open up, or was it?
No, I think we were both dating around quite a bunch at the same time as when we first met. And I think for the first, we're 6 years now. Mm-hmm. I think so. For the first 5 years or so, we were in a V. So I had another partner. I just call her Anne. And so I was kind of running in between the two of them, and we had our ups and downs. I think for the first couple of years.
Slow down.
Oh, sorry.
I would like to interject.
Oh yes, please.
So we were dating, and then it just came to a point where we had a discussion about the direction our relationship was going, as people do. And I had read The Ethical Slut, and I suggested to him that he read it, and he read it I think we were still dating, and everything was resonating. And so we just kind of decided we were going to keep doing what we were doing. And now we have this title, because I had said, I was like, I'm calling people, you're my boyfriend now. Yeah. So what should we do? Are you okay with that title? And, we just kind of went from there. It's always been open. I've never, for me, it's all about autonomy. I don't own anybody. I can't tell you what you can and can't do with your life. So. Yeah.
I remember reading The Ethical Slut. It's like the Bible for everybody that's kind of looking at this alternative kind of lifestyle, or is thinking, hey, maybe monogamy is not working for me, but what else is there out there? But I remember reading it, and the craziest thing that stuck to me about it was that it just seemed like really good relationship advice, regardless of whether you're monogamous or non-monogamous. And so I was kind of reading through it, and I'm like, God, this is like everything. It was, when you recognize yourself in the people that they're describing, or the thought processes that they're explaining, when you recognize yourself in that, something clicks. So we had that conversation, and really it was just along the lines of, this is great. Can we just do it like this? How do you feel about not changing anything? Mm-hmm. I'm like, this is great. Yes, let's just not change anything.
And neither of you had been open in any relationship previous to that, correct?
Mm-mm.
Well, I think before, so I had a marriage from, I don't know, I think I got married at 28. I was with him from 26 years old. So I was married for 6 years. And in that time, I was monogamous. Prior to my getting married, I had the kind of unsaid non-monogamy. You just didn't talk about it, but you kind of did it. I had a couple of dudes I would see regularly, but it was never like we had a discussion about it. It just was there. And so
you guys both had like don't ask, don't tell, basically.
Kind of, yeah, but
but did any of those relationships, had it been discussed that you were going to be exclusive, or was it sort of just like we just never talked about it and so it never mattered?
Some folks, I did do some monogamous relationships where it was discussed, and then other times I didn't. And even like when I was in a monogamous relationship, when I wanted out of it, I cheated and let him find out.
Interesting strategy.
Yeah.
I know, because I wanted him to leave me, so it was so that I could have the apartment, honestly. Resources, man. We got to do what we got to do.
I'm sensing a theme.
Yeah. So, I'm ashamed to admit that, but it's true.
So I'm curious now. When you go to break up with Jason, you can't cheat on him, really. So how are you?
No, I know. This is why I decided from that point on that I wanted to live by myself, because I just couldn't deal with having someone living with me. That was solidified it for me. So, yeah. But then I spent some time after I got a divorce. I was, oh man, I went on like a fucking spree. You know how you do that. If you're with somebody for a long time, if that happens, expect a fucking spree.
What was it you said before? You're like, you want to get over somebody, get under somebody else.
Yes.
It sounds terrible, but there's an element of truth to it.
Yeah.
Cleansing experience.
Yeah. So I went to the Philippines and lived in the Philippines for almost a year. And while I was there, I had an agreement with someone there that we knew this was for when I'm here, and when I'm gone, then it's no more. And that was fine. And we're still friends. And that was kind of my first real experience with it, and, kind of de-escalating the relationship and that sort of stuff. So I had a little bit of practice in, unspoken ways and also spoken ways.
And so at that point, when you were in the Philippines with that person, was it an exclusive agreement, or were you like, we're together doing this, but I'm going to also do anything I want?
I wasn't. So in the Philippines, as a white American person or Western woman, you're pretty much ignored by the other expats, because if men are looking for anyone, they're looking for Filipino women, and I can't compete with that. So when I got this person's attention, I was like, it's great, because it was a great thing to have that person there when I needed to have like some kind of intimacy with somebody, even if it was just hanging out. But I always told him too, I'm like, I don't expect you to just be monogamous with me. I really didn't expect that. But as far as I know, he was. Maybe up to the end he wasn't, but yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. And so then when you came back, and presumably that was when you met Jason at some point after that, and then you guys sort of just by default went into the non-monogamous route, I guess, by never turning it off, not because
it's not how you mean to continue this.
I felt that's what I did when I got married, and I lost myself with that. Totally lost myself with that marriage, and I felt like I came back to my true self again, just being who I am. It's like a lot of your other podcasts or your guests have said, like, it's just the way I am. It's stupid to try to ignore it.
Yeah. Did it feel so? I guess, do you mind expanding on that a little bit? Like, when you got married and you turned off the non-monogamy piece of it, like, I guess, what does that mean for you in terms of it not being yourself?
For me, it's like having to, I don't know, just having to even turn off that you notice other people, or that feeling of, oh, they're noticing me. That totally went away. I lost that and got fat Like, it was like the classic, she gets married and she gets fat kind of thing. And then I had a divorce diet. It was really interesting. I just turned it off, and then we weren't having sex in my marriage either. So then it just completely, you really lose your mojo.
Yeah.
So it was the freedom, the autonomy, really that whole idea of, or that really strict idea of, you shouldn't even be looking at someone else or
Right.
Well, and you don't feel, I would imagine you didn't feel desirable either if like no one else noticed you and you weren't having sex in your relationship either. So that has
feel invisible.
Totally.
Yeah,
And
to kill your self-confidence too.
Because he was in a similar situation where he also had, not having sex in his marriage.
Yeah.
And so I suppose for folks who are married right now and struggling with their sex lives, I feel like it's a testament, because I've never felt closer to someone before. And we have so much space. It's magic.
Yeah. And is it, I guess, did you feel it was about the sex, or was it much bigger than that? Because I think it's easy for a lot of people to conflate, like, oh, they just want to fuck other people all the time, but it's not usually just that simple. It sometimes is, but I guess for you
there is definitely that element. Absolutely. Because like I said, I can't tell you what you can and can't do with your body. So I've always thought I could live with the don't ask, don't tell policy too. Like, it's just always been, I've never been in the jealous type when it comes to sex. But like I said, a lot of it is the autonomy, this idea that it's your body. You can do what you want. It's your mind. Like, I can't control what relationships you have with other people. That's just ridiculous in my mind. So that's really the core of it, is like your personal spirit and growth and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Just allows some more room for growth.
Right. Yeah, and whether that's the sexual side or an emotional aspect or some combination of the two.
Yeah. Well, you get exposed to how other people do it. You get to see it from the inside because you're doing it with other people. And I don't mean just sex, just any kind of relationship, like whatever level of relationship you kind of decide that you want to be on with this other person, you get to experience it. And it's compare and contrast, right? Like, you get better because you start learning how different people do it.
Yeah.
Right. And no, you go. I'm gonna drink some wine.
You had a question.
Well, I guess my question was, so on Vel's side, you said you identify mostly with solo poly or relationship anarchy. On your side, Jason, how do you go about approaching it?
Well, as I said, I self-identify as poly. It took me quite a while to kind of get to that point. Interesting question. It's such a broad question. I'm like, oh God, what angle do I want to approach? But yeah, it's taken me a while to kind of get to the point where I'm like, okay, I think poly is the label that fits best, but I don't really kind of like sling it around or advertise it very much. But I guess I identify with it closest just because there's a loving, caring aspect to it.
Right.
I've never, with the odd exception, like I've never really wanted to just go out and smash. There's always been a bit more of an emotional component to it. Like I have to like the person, and I have to like think that they're cool, and like that I want to be around them and spend time with them for that to be a part of what I want to do with them. So yeah, when I looked at just kind of like the bare translation of the word, I'm like, well, yeah, it's like love for many, essentially. And that kind of feels broad enough without me having to kind of descend down the rabbit hole of labels, because it just gets confusing.
Then maybe rather than labeling it, what does it look like on a practical level? Like,
it kind of goes in like a weekly cycle. So, right now I'm seeing Vel and 4 other people. And in terms of, scheduling is like a key concern. It kind of happens on a weekly cycle. So I think usually every like Saturday or Sunday, I just kind of start reaching out to everybody to figure out, well, what's up with you for the next week? When are you free? and then I just play Tetris with my calendar to like make it all fit. And I mean, in general, everybody seems to be on a weekly kind of basis that we all want to get to see each other, but there's no kind of requirement, or at least I've never put that requirement on somebody because scheduling happens. Honestly, people are out for a week, or they get sick, or life happens, and you're not able to kind of maintain like a regular schedule. And I found that for folks who really place a premium on getting their fair share, quote unquote, of time, they struggle a lot with this kind of setup. And it's for them to kind of decide what they value the most. But I think back over the time that I spent with two people, and just my general kind of stress level, and trying to kind of like make sure that everything was kind of running smoothly and everybody's feeling included and feeling like they're getting enough time. That was a lot harder than I feel now, when everybody's on the same page and is working together. It feels much less stressful, even though there's even more people involved, because it just feels more forgiving, like there's more room for error. Just if I need to travel for work, or if I get sick and I have to change plans, or something happens, it feels like, okay, well, we have enough history and I have enough trust in you that I'm sure we'll see each other, when we next make plans, or, skip a week, or whatever it needs to be, for everybody involved to just feel like they're not stressed out by, by schedules, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a sensitive thing for him, because we, like he said earlier, we were in a V, and the other person was not non-monogamous. She was monogamous.
Monogamish.
Yeah.
It's still unclear, but somewhere between monogamish and monogamous,
Uh-huh.
kind of like not monogamous, but not 100% happy about it.
And you had met her after the two of you got together?
Right around the same time.
Okay.
And I guess can you explain what a V is? And it sounds like, Jason, you were the apex of the V, or the...
Yeah. So for the folks at home, there's all kinds of names for it. Like I've heard, like it's like a V triad, or a V, or there's a bunch of different names for it. But essentially, it's just there's three people involved, and two of the people don't have any kind of relationship with each other. Okay. So the person in the middle is kind of bouncing between the two. Yeah, the apex.
Okay. And so Vel, you and the other partner didn't really have contact at all. It was just, you knew she existed, but other than that, it was...
Yeah. And we tried. I met her in person, and then Jason actually is an immigrant, and he recently got his passport and got sworn in and everything. So last year,
yeah, it felt like that. 20 years. It was amazing.
So she was around for that, and like we could be comfortable with each other if we had to be, but it was really basically just putting up with it.
Yeah.
Especially from our end.
Yeah, so you had said like those relationships had progressed in parallel when the two of you met, and you met her as well. So, but she was mostly monogamous. So was it because she had a problem, or she was having issues with your having multiple relationships, that it was hard for her to be in the same, like, to be around you, Vel?
Yeah, I mean, I would say yes. Mm-hmm. It was just she felt like she came second place all the time, and it's regardless of what was actually happening. But ultimately, it was just she wanted something different, and I think she tried, and I tried in our different ways. Like, she tried to be more accepting and more tolerant. I tried to kind of make the facade that we were monogamous and never mention that there are other people in the picture.
Right.
But it's just not sustainable in the long run. And ultimately, it kind of got to a point where I was like, we're taking up too much space in each other's lives. You should go find this monogamous setup that would fulfill you. And I want to explore poly. I want to explore other people, first of all, because I feel like it teaches me, it's like they're mirrors, and they teach me about myself. And I just really enjoy learning about myself, but also connecting with these people as well. Right. That, obviously I'm attracted to. And also I was curious to see like different styles of how people do this, but also like how far can I go? Like what's out there for me, and what would be an interesting path to take. So yeah, over the last year or so, I've just been exploring a lot more, and just getting to know different people and connecting with different people. And I find that it doesn't just happen. It started off just one by one, but then you start meeting their relationship molecules or polycules, or however you refer to it.
Sure.
You get to meet their groups as well, and you just start seeing so many different approaches and attitudes, but all kind of along the same general path of people don't own people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's super cool, I think. And
it's been a really interesting year.
Yeah, and it's cool that you've been able to do what you want and experience that, and come from I guess now you have multiple partners, more than just two.
Yeah.
So my next question would be for both of you, and I guess through that journey, what are some of the things that you have discovered about yourself, and again for both of you through the last few years of exploring this, like things that you've learned about yourselves and ways that you've grown in either good or bad?
I like redheads.
We both have discovered that we have a type.
Yeah.
Very clear.
She likes Mr. Clean looking guys, and I like redheads apparently.
And I can spot his type out anywhere.
Yeah, we've gotten very adept to like picking out each other's types. So like, yep, you. God, it's like. It feels like I feel like I am who I am now because I've gone down this route. I think I found it really interesting and also very fulfilling to just kind of give people the space to be who they are, instead of trying to put expectations on them and like put them in a box, or like have them meet certain unflinching standards. It's kind of like I try and just give people the space to be who they want to be, or be who they are, and just make my decisions accordingly as to, okay, well, what level or kind of intensity of relationship do I want to have with you, rather than going out and saying, well, I'm looking for a long-term relationship, and anything that doesn't fit in that box, I'm just going to drop it and ignore it because it's not what I'm looking for right now. Mm-hmm. I find myself in much more of I say that as that's not like a bad thing. You can know what you want, but I find the phrase in people's head is I want a long-term relationship, when it really should be I want a long-term relationship with you. I feel like you should identify the person first, instead of putting a framework around this is the relationship that I want, and then I'm going to find somebody that fits, or I'm going to stuff somebody in that doesn't quite fit. Ignore the parts that don't fit. Yeah. You're in the box. I've closed the box now.
Yeah.
I don't really. I've tried that and it didn't work for me. So I'm finding myself much more in a mode of just relating to people on the level that they seem to kind of want with it, like that we mutually want. I just kind of look and see where those Venn diagram circles overlap, and I'm like, okay, well, that's where we are, and that can change, or that can get wider or narrower over time. But it's just, let's meet where we overlap and go from there.
Well, I think that's evident in the fact that you and Val have been together for 6 years, right? Obviously, you're not averse to long-term relationships, but it's really more about finding the right person and then figuring out what relationship makes sense for the two of you.
Yeah.
Right. Otherwise, I feel like you're constantly rejecting people who are like, 80, 85, 90, 95% of what you're looking for, but sorry, you're not the 100%.
Yeah.
But,
Right.
then they get disillusioned because they don't find many of those people who are higher than 95% when, you're putting too many restrictions on it.
Yeah,
maybe. Like, relax,
people are human, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes you gotta round people up just a little bit.
I feel like I have the luxury to be more forgiving and accepting this way, because I'm not looking for one person to kind of fill that, perfectly fit that mold that I've cast in, hard iron, and nothing can budge about it because that's what I want.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like there's got to be a little bit of give and take, at least to just kind of like grow into the person and like get to know them, because they're not always going to fit into that box perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
Do the two of you see that, I guess, in the future, continuing what you're kind of the path you're on and dating more, I guess, do you see it changing in the future?
Yeah, I do. For me, I do.
No. I don't see this changing.
Oh, this? Sorry.
No.
No, I don't see
I
this
mean,
change.
This, no, I couldn't see it going.
Yeah, maybe you should ask a more confusing question.
I didn't mean that.
Wait, I got confused, Your
Yeah,
Honor.
sorry. I was meaning about your, I guess, how you explore polyamory and see that changing.
No, I wouldn't go back to monogamy.
I don't see myself going back. No.
No.
Even if I found somebody who was like a perfect match for me, I would still enjoy. It's just one more perspective. It doesn't crowd out the others. It just joins the others.
Right. And did it take a while to find people that sort of it sounds like for you the form that works the best is being able to check in on a weekly basis and say, hey, here's where I am, here's what my week looks like, how do you guys feel about that? I feel like that's not for everybody, right? Like, I think there's a lot of people who, even in the poly sphere, would like to know that I am a priority of yours moving forward, and I don't have to wait till Sunday to find out if I'm still in your level of interest, your sphere of interest.
That was the constant
How did you deal with that? Because
that was a constant thing.
I know it was difficult from my end, but it's difficult. It's like waiting for your lottery numbers to come up.
I mean, you guys just hit like this big red button. Like, that was the thing because his partner from the V worked at
weekly shifts. She would find out on Sunday when she would be working for the next week.
And so
she worked nights.
He based his schedule off of her schedule, and I didn't really have that say. So that was difficult, and I just kind of I just learned to roll with it because, like I said, like, you're going to do what you're going to do, and I'm still here. Like, that's pretty much the way I dealt with it. And there was a time when I almost walked away. I almost had enough, but I decided to double down because he was worth it, and I knew that he would see the error of her ways eventually.
It's all because of the shaved head.
Totally, yeah. I fit the Mr. Clean profile.
It's more the beard.
I mean, so from my side of the equation, yeah, it was stressful because I knew that one person's schedule was dictating two other people's schedules, which was causing a lot of stress. Like, I was having to kind of bend and contort around this kind of weekly schedule cycle, and negotiating with Vel as well to just make it fit together each week. Yeah, it was difficult. It caused a lot of stress, I think, on all three of us, honestly, because there was a lot of guessing involved. And it's funny, I feel like even though those restrictions aren't there anymore, I'm still kind of on a weekly cycle just because that's how I'm kind of used to planning my life. I mean, like, big things go in the calendar, and trips get stuck in the calendar weeks or months out. But for the most part, I'm fairly like tactical when it comes to my schedule, and I just kind of I offer up my availability and just see when people can and cannot meet, and then just figure it out with them. I'm not really kind of like the WYD question mark type of guy. It's I prefer that we make plans about a week out or 2 weeks out to see each other and stick to them. I feel like it just kind of builds trust over time as well. Just kind of being where you say you're going to be, and prioritizing that. When you agree to it, try your best to try and prioritize it and schedule stuff around it so that you're not flaking out all the time.
Right. Yeah. And I think it's probably slightly deeper than it sounds. Like, it's not quite as simple as on Sunday all your partners find out if they're still your partners or not, right?
This is kind of an ongoing conversation.
It's become part of the conversation.
It's really not a thing now. Scheduling is no big deal.
Which I still can't believe that just the stress level of running between two people and then comparing it to how it feels now, where, like I said, people are just much more flexible. Yeah, people are much more flexible. Everybody's on the same page. I don't feel like I'm walking on eggshells and like sending off like, okay, here's my availability, and then like wait for the blow up to come back.
Right.
That was always an ongoing.
Well, it sounds like it's better for you as well.
Oh, totally. Yes. Honestly, the relationship was toxic, so it just in general. So this was just one facet of it that that's just so much better. And I'll tell you what I've learned. I've learned a lot about, and I kind of knew this before with my philosophy of people are going to do what they're going to do. A woman told me years ago, Vel, people never forget that people always have their own agenda. And like, that really stuck with me because it's true. Like, I can't stop anybody from doing anything. So what I've learned is that you really have to let people make the mistakes and learn the lessons and find out the things for themselves. Mm-hmm. There's not much you can say. I had to step back and keep my mouth shut a lot of the time because I saw how I didn't even know the depth actually of how toxic it was until he broke away from that. And we started to kind of look back, you know how you do through a breakup, we talked through it. And I learned that it doesn't have to be awkward to go through a breakup and help out a partner through that.
Oh yeah, that was a new experience.
Yeah,
like when you go over to your girlfriend's house to complain about how you're breaking up with your girlfriend.
Yeah, so that's something.
The whole existence of other conversations that ordinarily in monogamous situations never even happen. Like,
yeah. And same with one dying.
Mm-hmm.
So, we've learned a lot about just caring for each other through these types of things that are really difficult. And like I said, I've never felt closer to someone. It's just been awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
Even when it sucked, it was still awesome.
Yeah. That's. I've said it pretty frequently, and I feel like I'm saying it more and more recently. It's just like, even when there's ups and downs, like, yeah, the ups are awesome, but the downs are fucking fascinating. Like, I'm just like, you would never be in a situation to learn these types of lessons. And even when you completely mess it up, if you just go into it with a genuine intent, you can come out learning something, and like, you're going to learn how to not do that again. And yeah, it sucks, and you can try and repair for past mistakes, but you come out of it just kind of knowing a lot more.
Mm-hmm. And Vel, I'm curious, during the relationship with the V, did you ever date, or did you decide to date anybody else, or were you mostly with? Mm-hmm. Okay, you were too.
Yeah, I had some relationships. Really nothing that stuck. I don't know. It's like 6 months or whatever. One of them turned into a really deep friendship. I just adore him.
We both do, I think.
Yeah.
And his wife.
Yeah, I've dated. I don't know that I identify so much with the many loves. I don't know. I'm not really out there looking for anything specific. I'm just kind of meeting folks and seeing if there's a connection. And if I want to explore it deeper, then I will. It's just kind of being me.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm circling back a little bit to the, talking about how you guys helped each other through, breakups and deaths. I mean, those are very hard things to go through, by yourself. And I guess, do you mind talking a little more about like what it's like to go through those things and still having a partner? Because I think that's something that most people don't get to experience, right? Like if you go through a breakup, like you call your best friend and you're the whiny best friend for a while until you get over it, right? But now you have another partner. So I guess, what is that like in on both fronts?
How has it been, Jason?
I think the freedom to have somebody that you can really speak your mind to, that's a liberating feeling beyond anything else. Somebody that understands you romantically and as a friend, and have their perspective on, relationships that are ending, or did I do that right? Was I compassionate? Like, having somebody who really, really knows you to bounce that stuff off of it's changed my life. And it's I mean, the freedom that I'm not given, but that I have, I guess, is what binds me even tighter to you, more than, vows or, a contract. Like, because it's almost like I have this ability to go out and explore and learn things, and I bring it back to the relationship, and I'm like, dude, check it out. Like, check out what I learned. And we're both doing that. And that's an incredible feeling. It's like it really kind of accelerates your own growth and learning and introspection, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did I answer the question?
I don't know.
I think you did.
Maybe.
I guess for me, it was hard to see him. He was hurting, but it's like I said before with, not being able to say the things, and then it's still a practice of not wanting to say "I told you so" or any of that.
Right.
It's really tempting to do, and I've learned a lot. I've learned patience and just that you have that empathy, because there's another angle too that didn't occur to me, but it's this feeling of being broken up with by him from him. That was the hardest part for me emotionally, like how she must have felt hearing those words from him. I imagine that, because this empathy just kicks in, like, oh my God, how she must have felt and hearing it from him. And that part was hard for me. But
you were invested in that relationship too.
I was. I mean, she made him happy, even if it didn't seem that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You were saying how you almost lost yourself in your marriage and how it took you a while to kind of get back to feeling yourself. I had a similar experience. Like, I definitely lost a part of myself in that relationship. But the crazy part is, like, it was like a pull, but I had an anchor perspective of somebody who saw me differently, and that made it not easier, but it made it, I guess easier. Sure, it made it easier for me to kind of like snap back to like who I was, like find that center again. Yeah, because I wasn't left lost by that other relationship ending. It's not to say like I had a backup. It was just like I had somebody else who knew me really, really well. Because I feel like when you break up with somebody and you've been with them for a long time, like you feel lost, because a part of you has kind of like gone away, or like somebody who sees you and has like a really kind of well-seasoned like perspective of you suddenly disappears from your life, and like they take that perspective with them, and when you're not getting that, it's like you're losing a piece of yourself.
Right.
And so, yeah, it was a really kind of different experience not having that person there anymore, and feeling like I could snap back like that. I still had a sense to come back to. It still was really painful, but I feel like I got there faster than I would have had I just suddenly found myself alone and trying to figure out, okay, well, who am I again without this person?
Right.
Yeah.
We're pretty much best friends, so it was just kind of built in.
Right.
It was.
Well, I think a little bit you have some of that validation, right? Like I think, when you end a relationship, you start to feel like, well, there's something wrong with me, or, I screwed this up, or I'm unlovable, all these things that come into your brain. And then to look and have somebody who loves you and says, no, this wasn't you. Yeah, sure, you messed up here, and here, but you're still, you're still a good person. I still love you. You're still lovable. And you kind of have that anchor to pull you back out of the darkness that could set in.
I felt lucky, honestly, just to have you there. Mm-hmm. Lucky because you're awesome, but also, I feel like the vast majority of people going through breakups don't have somebody like you there with them who's advocating for them, but also kind of like giving them the other perspective of like, hey, maybe you should next time think about doing that a little bit better, or maybe a bit more compassionate with how you approach a similar situation like this.
Right.
It was a really unique perspective.
I had to really force myself to lead with kindness through all of it. That was something I practiced the most, was just leading with kindness.
Yeah. Instead of the "I told you so" type attitude.
And even through the relationship, like just not being cunty,
Yeah, because it'd be
simple rule, but it's so hard to follow.
Yeah, she was really difficult, and there were lots of times where I would have been perfectly justified in being cunty right back, and I always led with kindness. And yeah, I don't know. It does feel very validating.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good strategy in life in general. But
yeah, lead with kindness. I think that's a very good strategy.
Yeah, I had to keep that in mind.
You got to practice. Like it doesn't come naturally. Like you got to practice it. And you're going to make some mistakes, and you just got to kind of learn from them. Don't beat yourself up because you fucked up. Because there's no playbook for what we're doing. We're inventing the playbook, and so there are lots of failed plays.
Yeah,
sure. To find what works, So.
Yeah, and your playbook may not work for somebody else, right? That's the other hard part is there's no right way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I kind of view polyamory as like an umbrella term that encompasses a whole bunch of stuff that isn't the other way.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I tend to use the label because it's broad enough that people kind of get that I'm okay. You're not, the regular flavor. But if they want to know exactly what flavor I am, then they have to ask a few more questions to show that they're actually interested. Otherwise, they can just leave it at, you're not vanilla. You're something else.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I could be wrong on the timing, but you had mentioned the timing of your breakup and of Vel's partner's death. And was that around the same time? Because that must have been extremely difficult.
Oh, that was like...
I think I was separated by like a year or something.
No, it was like 6 months, I think.
6 months, yeah. There was a bit of a...
Yeah, that's still a lot to go through. I just...
October to... What did you say? It was February?
Yeah.
Yeah. Not even 6 months.
Yeah.
That was pretty close.
Wow.
It's been an emotional year. Mm-hmm.
And maybe, I mean, throughout that, you mentioned something earlier, Jason, that coming back to your relationships, different relationships, and saying, oh, look at this amazing thing I've learned, and bringing that back. What's something that each of you have learned from the other that you're excited to take and share with other people?
Oh, Jason.
You mean for the future?
Sure, for the future, or just like you something that Vel taught you that you took out of your relationship with her and said, "Hey, look at this awesome shit I just picked up." And
yeah, I'd say I'm kind of experiencing it right now. Just almost like closing the loop of all of the people in your network, like having them all know who each other is, and like being able to communicate with each other and meeting each other. That's an opportunity that I felt like we didn't have for quite a while, just because adding new people to the mix was kind of it wasn't a stable mix. And so adding new people to it wasn't really I didn't feel like it was viable, and I just didn't want to do it. So now I'm a bit more open, and everybody is much more on the same page. Having them all kind of just know who each other is something I'm really curious about, and that I'm seeing other partners that I have their own groups, and like they all know each other. It's a really positive thing. It's a really warm, like welcoming thing, and I feel like, I'm seeing from their example that this is possible. That it's a feasible way of just relating to other people.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you.
I didn't like what I'm bringing back to the relationship.
No,
I'm learning about kind of knitting.
What you learn from each other.
Oh, what we learn from each other? Oh, sorry. B-roll. I thought you were asking what are we going out and learning and bringing back to this relationship.
Also an acceptable answer.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to go off on a tangent. Okay, sorry, I'm going to shut up. What did you learn from me?
I'm still thinking about it.
Oh, okay. What did I learn from Vel?
Way to throw a tough question out there.
Well, you know what? Had a little bit of wine, and I thought I'd ask some hard questions.
It's patience and forgiveness. I think just giving people that room to feel like they're not like walking on a tightrope with you. You know what I mean? Like that really makes them feel much more comfortable, and it helps them open up. I think I learned that from you, really.
Awesome. I've learned that I'm a lot more patient than I thought I was.
That's good to know about yourself.
Yeah.
On most things, I mean.
Right.
Sometimes I'm like, oh shit, don't fuck around.
I guess, yeah, I've learned to be patient. Also, and be patient and kind with my own self. We always tell each other, what is it that your mom said? Don't talk about my friend like that. Because, I'm really like, I hate hearing people with their negative self-talk. And sometimes we catch each other doing that, and so we've learned not to do that. And it really helps to.
You got a spotting partner, just being like, up. Don't talk about my friend like that, all right? Yeah, it helps. It sounds super cheesy, but it's a real
and call
thing.
each other out, though. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like, don't bring that shit around here. Like, this isn't the place for that.
Right.
Are you, I guess, have throughout this whole journey that both of you have been on, have you been open about it with with your friends and family, or has it been something that has evolved over time as well as your journey has?
I think everybody pretty much knows now. I don't think there's nobody that I get involved with that I don't reveal it up front. And like, on dating profiles, it's like the first line that I put in that, hey, here's the deal. if you're not down with this, that's okay.
Basically, are you out?
Yeah, am I out? Mostly, yes. But I find that you kind of constantly, there's always one more person that you need to explain yourself to. But yeah, I think I would almost completely out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. At work.
To my boss, yes, and then I let the grapevine do its thing.
Right.
I don't want to.
Rely on that too.
I don't want to be going around advertising it, because it's like it's not something that you advertise.
Yeah, it's not like you need to send out an email blast to the company.
Yeah, exactly. No. Yeah. So we joke about that, but there were times when I was kind of trying to figure out, okay, well, what am I? I was in a very I was working in a very kind of inclusive environment, and they supported people being themselves. And at one point, I was like, well, maybe I should do like an all-company presentation on this, just so like everybody's like, in the know. I'm like I look back on that and I cringe. I'm like, no, you didn't need to just like come together, everyone. No, stop what you're doing. You know that I'm having. It's not necessary.
You could do like a lunch and learn, like the
right. Well, that's literally what I was like on the table. I'm like,
no.
This is this is one of those times when I'm glad that she's here, because I'm like, hey, so what do you think about this? She's like, no, veto. So yeah. What about you?
Mostly, I guess I don't really talk about it at work, but I have told some people that I feel like I could trust. And I also have a burlesque persona, Vel Vet, on Instagram. So I use that to share all the things and of course a little burlesque. So yeah.
That sounds fun.
My family knows.
So are your families, have they been fairly supportive?
Yeah,
Oh
I would say my parents.
His parents, I love them.
They're pretty rad. I would say for maybe 4.5 years, 4.5 years, they didn't really know what their son was doing. They live in Europe, and I'm originally from London, and so I didn't get the chance to kind of go back very frequently. So they knew that I was seeing multiple people, but a Skype call can only really like convey so much, or like help you get to know somebody so much. So it was kind of just like, I try and slip mentions of Vel into, email updates that I write back, or like letters that I write, or things like that. But they never really like kind of engaged with it, because they were like, well, we don't understand what's going on. I think that changed about 3 years ago. My dad had a stroke and was paralyzed down the left side of his body. And so, I got like the 3 a.m. frantic phone call from my mom, hastily arranged a ticket to go fly out. And I just kind of was hanging out with my dad in the hospital for a while. And that was the first time that he and I had just like one-on-one time to just talk and reconnect in years. And so, one day I kind of sat down and I was like, so Dad, I need to talk to you about something. And I just kind of told him, like, look, I met these women at the same time, and I love them with everything. And I couldn't choose. So we decided to figure out how we could make it work. And I know that it's kind of weird. It's not what's expected, but I'm doing my best. Like, this is what I'm trying to do. And so he kind of was just like listening. And at that point, my mom kind of came back in the room, and he just kind of turned to her and he was like, we have to go see them. We have to go meet them because they're taking care of our boy out there. So they're family now. So, so my dad ended up doing a whole bunch of physiotherapy, and a couple of years later, they were able to kind of come out and visit. And, the five of us, myself, Vel, Anne, and my parents, we all ended up managing to like sit and have dinner and hang out like a family. And that was amazing.
Wow.
And then, I was just kind of sitting there, like, is this happening? Is this really? Mm-hmm. It's been, 5 years. Is this actually happening? I was waiting for somebody to like throw a plate at somebody or anything, but it was just like we were all sitting and laughing and just kind of understanding that, we were just we were connected to each other.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's incredible. And that they flew a long way to make that happen and made that a priority. Yeah. And your dad did a lot of therapy and everything. That's a really amazing story.
Yeah, my mom likewise equally was just amazing about it. I had just sat down with her and she's like, so what's going on? Mm-hmm. And I told her, I was like, Mom, I just met them at the same time and I couldn't choose. And she was like, I knew I never raised you to be callous and just use people and discard mm-hmm. them. I knew that wasn't how I'd raised you, but I just didn't know the context of who these women are to you. And so, mm-hmm. yeah, they were awesome about it. They really helped. So that was like a big piece of the puzzle that just felt like it just clicked right in.
Yeah.
It's nice to have that support from the family, I imagine.
Yeah.
It means everything. Yeah.
It's just really awkward with my folks, so I don't really talk about it with them. They knew, because I would talk about other people, but really not give them a title or anything, or just call them a friend. I've talked about it before, but I don't really think they just don't ask. They don't care. I don't know that they care. They think it's, it's just your sex life, honey.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's tough too, right? Because for you, it's more than just your sex life, right? And so I imagine at a certain point, there's times you want to be able to bring people home or show them, and that it's tough that you can't do that.
Or talk about people.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I have there's a couple cousins and an aunt. And like Jason said, I just use the grapevine for all.
Just leave it to his thing.
To other family members.
The information will get there.
I think they know, efficient. But I come from the Midwest, and I moved to California, and like I'm the crazy one that moved to California of all places. But that's the kind of mindset that I come from. So I'm just kind of eccentric living out here
in crazy California.
So that's fine. I just don't go home that much.
Right. Well, the weather's probably better there anyways.
Oh, totally. 100%.
Yeah. Sunny and 70. That's the weather in San Diego.
Yep.
Like clockwork. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think that's your dream.
It is my dream. Somebody loves the seasons.
Back to the interview.
It's kind of, I'm traveling to Midwest pretty soon, and it's I think the high is 14 and the low is 4. I'm kind of excited. It's going to be an adventure. It's because
that's because you're traveling there and you can leave.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. It's like when you're an uncle and you're like, oh, it pooped. Here you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So one thing that we try to talk about, if you guys are open to it, is how do you manage your sexual health and your sexual safety, navigating multiple partners and keeping everybody safe, because it's not just you, it's not just Vel, or it's all of you and your whole web.
Yeah, for sure. I use condoms with everybody except Vel, and I feel like that keeps it simple. There's never any question. Of course, I'm curious about it. Would be nice to be able to expand that, but I haven't figured out a way that I feel comfortable with doing that yet. It's just tricky.
And when you introduce a new partner or partners, do do you typically have conversations around, sexual health and practices?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
I prefer to see results on a mobile phone personally, but no one has actually done that except for you.
Oh. Yeah. I just kind of screenshot it and send it because I got it done recently.
Newfangled thing, I guess.
Right,
I don't know,
right.
but yeah, I show people in that, hoping that they will show me theirs, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And is it ever a deal breaker if they don't? That you're like, hey, I was willing to share this with you, and I'm not seeming to get anything back. Does it ever cause you to lose interest?
I would have if I don't feel like I can trust you, I'm not gonna have sex with you. It's certainly not a
shady motherfucker. I mean,
yeah. I guess I just trust them if they say, yeah, I've been tested, and then we go from there. I always use condoms with other folks too, and I don't sit here and say, Jason, you better not use condoms with anyone else or whatever. I just, I would like to know in advance, maybe if it's possible, but it's if it happens or a condom breaks, shit happens. Yeah. I do not own you. I cannot tell you how to live your life. So I will protect myself. If he decides to do that, then we're going to use condoms, and that's fine.
It's kind of like somebody, I forget who it was, that maybe we heard it on a podcast, but they were like, you don't get to bitch about getting hurt in a car accident if you're driving around town with no seatbelt. Mm-hmm. Just wear your fucking seatbelt. If everybody just is responsible for wearing their own fucking seatbelt, fewer people get hurt. There's none of this finger pointing you didn't click my seatbelt and she didn't click his seatbelt. Yeah. So both of you are responsible for me getting hurt in this car crash because my seatbelt wasn't clicked in. It's come on, guys, just fucking click your seatbelt.
Yeah. And I think I think you make a good point too, that if he wants to do that with other people, as long as he's willing to communicate that, then you have the information you need to make your own decision, whether it's I want to continue on, or I want to start using condoms, or I want to see more frequent test results, or whatever your decision is. Then you have the information. I think that's the important part.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. It takes the gravity out of it as well. It's just a quick conversation. Hey, I was thinking about this. Okay, well, here's how I feel about it. Make your own decision and let me know.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than it being this we need to talk, sit down, got the ominous music playing, and it takes a lot of the stress out of it.
Yeah, I think that's the Dan Savage of don't roll it out like you've got cancer, right? Just
right.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. He's kind of famous.
Yeah, I definitely tend to do that. I'm oh my god, we need to talk. She's that's it? That's all it was? I'm yes. So
you need to stop doing that.
I know. I'm working on it. Year 7, I'm telling you.
It's going to be your year.
Oh my god.
I wanted to ask, changing subject a little bit, neither of you have kids, correct? I figured that would have come up if you did.
Yeah, no. I'm purposely child-free.
You got the fur babies, but
I've got that responsibility. But no, we don't have kids, and that's how we like it.
Yeah.
For me, it was partly the environmental thing, but really the fundamental thing was just I just didn't feel like I wanted to. I never got to that point where I was all right, I'm ready to do this. I've got all of this great stuff I want to pour into a little version of me. I just kind of never got to that point. So I just decided that try and make a difference in a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you have fur babies, and those are awesome.
Right. Yes. I can leave them at home for a while if I have to.
Yes.
Yeah, so one of the things that we like to ask, just as kind of a fun way to wrap things up and to help humanize you guys, although you're fairly normal as it is, what are, maybe each of you had a funny blooper or outtake that you look back on and is just comical for each of you?
Either sexually or relationship or...
But preferably sexually.
Funny sexual outtake? I'm like, how crude can I be with this?
As crude as you'd like.
Do I know this?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I think so. Okay. This is going to be a great outtake. So we went back to her house. She gave me the tour. It was a beautiful house. We went down to the basement where she had her guest bedroom, where the house that she and her husband have together. And, we're disrobing. I'm going down on her, and I hear the keys in the front door. I'm fully naked. She's fully naked. So I feel her freeze, and I hear the keys upstairs, and then the front door opens. And she kind of just like freezes. She's like, don't move. Don't move. And I'm like, I'm kind of in the middle, in between your thighs right now, like in my face. So she gets off the bed, grabs a towel, and she's like, honey? And he's like, hey. And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't know he was going to be coming home. And she's like, no, it's fine. She's like, we're still busy. Can you just go to the bar? And he's like, oh, okay, I'll be back in like an hour. So, yeah, that was kind of like a poly blooper moment. I'm like, next time, could you just tell him that we're going to like go back to your place and that he shouldn't come back, please? Not to be surprised like that. Yeah.
So he had no problem with it. It was just made you uncomfortable.
Great. Well, I'm standing there thinking I'm about to get shot. And he's like, oh, yeah, I'll just go have an IPA. Like,
and then you're on the clock.
I don't know, get a picture out of my mind of him like going up to the bar, and he's like, hey, Sam. And the bartender's like, oh, hey, man, how's it going? The usual? He's like, yeah. He's like, is your wife fucking another guy again in the basement? He's like, yeah, another hour and a half, hour and 20 minutes to finish up. Oh, TikTok.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Good one.
That's my poly blooper.
If I have any, I can't think of anything.
Well, that's all right. We'll let it go this time.
Yeah.
Next time, though.
Yeah, next time.
Yeah, I was in the basement thinking I was going to get shot. It was pretty crazy.
Right.
Yep.
Well,
like I said, when these things go up and down, man, even when they're down or something goes crazy left turn, you're just like, oh, hey, look at that. That happened.
Yeah.
It's a good story.
But then
I'm going to say that next podcast interview I do.
And then the hard part is not bringing that story up at like normal conversations with people.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, we have a lot of those where we're like, somebody says something and we look at each other and we're like,
Don't say it. No. Don't say it.
Yeah. Or you slip and you're like, oh yeah, that's right. My girlfriend is in the Philippines, and then they're like, oh, who texted you? Like, oh, it's my girlfriend. She's just at a party around the corner. And they're like, oh, which girlfriend did I tell them about? Or when you accidentally say, oh yeah, my girlfriends love that show, and they're like, girlfriends? And you walk away and just leave them wondering.
It's a tough life you live there, Jason.
It's not for everybody, but it works for me.
I couldn't be more excited for Jason now that he's broken free from the toxic relationship. He's able to grow. I'm just having a lot of fun even watching, learning, and meeting these people he's meeting. And I said to him a while back that before he broke up with Anne, I wish that more women could experience him, because I really feel like, I don't know, he's just a model gentleman, and more women should experience that. So it's been
I don't
great.
know where to look right now.
I'm just so in love. It's crazy.
Thank you.
Well, I think that's a nice way to end. We'll leave Jason's ego so big he's not going to be able to get out the front door.
It's interesting. He's grown a lot, because he didn't see that in himself at all before, and I think he's starting to see it, and I just hope he stays humble.
We'll keep him in check.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, if you guys are okay with it, we'll maybe leave it there and say thank you for taking the time out of your evening to chat with us. And
Yeah, and unless there's anything else that we missed that you might want to bring up.
Yeah, we'll let you know for sure.
Okay, and
I left it all on the tape.
yeah,
Good.
yeah, absolutely. Well, and please keep in touch, and thank you again for all your sharing and some very emotional stuff. So we appreciate that.
Yes, we really appreciate the open and honest communication.
Sure, yeah. Thanks for giving us the opportunity to, share our story and everybody else as well, because it's helped us to hear those other people's, and so I hope all you guys out there listening, I hope this is helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and
we hope so too.
And we always hear awesome feedback from people, so when we do, we will send it your way.
Yes.
For sure. Yeah.
Cool.
And in the meantime, keep in touch, and we look forward to continuing to be friends.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll do.
Awesome.
All right. Well, good night, guys.
Good night.
Have a good night. Thanks very much.
We made it. We came back. That was an awesome interview, and thank you to Vel and Jason for sharing some really awesome, deep stuff.
Yeah, and being honest and open about everything. It was amazing.
Yeah, they are fantastic people, and we're happy to have them now in our lives.
Definitely, yeah.
And they only came into our lives because we started this show, and then they reached out to us, which you can do on our new website that we told you about earlier.
Yeah. normalizingnonmonogamy.com. Or actually, I should mention this more often. If you're spelling challenged, and that's a lot of words, you can also find us at nnmpodcast.com.
And while you're there, check out the resources page or the show notes for our new, not really a sponsor because we don't get anything for this, but you do. You get 10% off at myonecondoms.com. It's basically a custom fit condom for you, sir, or ma'am's partner that's got a penis. How am I doing?
Maybe you should say penis-bodied people.
Penis havers. If you're a penis haver, go check this out. Or if you're dating, married to, or connected sexually to a penis haver, go check this out. It's awesome. We're going to get in there as soon as we get back to the U.S. and order some test kits, measure myself up, and get me some custom fit condoms. So
they have over 60 sizes.
Save 10% at checkout when you use the Emma code, the offer code Emma. Now, let's get out of here so you can have the rest of your week. And we'll see you for episode 47.
Which is an interview with Kat and Tom.
Tomcat. These two, this is some wild shit. That's all I'm going to say.
It's a fun interview.
So we will see you in a week for that.
Bye, everyone.
Go have a good week.